We need Officer Singleton here.
I apologize.
Jury's present, Your Honor.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, while you're getting your notepads ready, I'm going to ask you my questions. If any of you need to answer yes to the question, please raise your hand. During the lunch recess, did any of you have any discussions amongst yourselves or with anybody else about the case? No hands are being raised. Did any of you read or listen to any radio, television, or newspaper reports about the case? No hands are being raised. Did any of you use an electronic device to get on the Internet to do independent research about the case, people, places, things, or terminology? No hands are being raised. And finally, did any of you read or listen to or read or create any emails, text messages, Twitters, tweets, blogs, or social networking pages about the case? No hands are being raised. Thank you very much. You may continue.
Ms. Singleton, I believe we left off where you had read the written statement that the defendant, Mr. Zimmerman, had prepared.
Yes, I attempted to. Yes.
After that, did investigator Sereno show up and interview the defendant for about 5 or so minutes?
I learned that later, but at the time I didn't know that.
You didn't participate in that at all? Is that
no.
correct? Okay. I asked you about that you observed some injuries on the defendant, and I want to show you, with the court's permission, thank you, Your Honor. State's Exhibit 47, do you recall, in terms of, you first stated when you first came in contact with him, he had a little bit of blood underneath his nose, is that correct?
Yes, underneath his nose, coming out of one of the ears. I believe it was the left ear.
Okay.
And in one of the corners of his mouth.
Okay. But he was dressed in this attire, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he was wearing that.
And in terms of possible injuries, did you observe that he had abrasion or scratch or something to his nose right here?
Yes.
Okay. And did you also observe some right here on the side of his nose and possibly some right here that I'm pointing to?
Yes.
Okay. And right here also, I'm sorry, State's Exhibit 66, the last one for the record, was 64. State's Exhibit 68, is this what you were talking about, the back of his head, or the side of his head over here?
Yes, there was more than one on the back of his head.
And he had 2 on the back of his head too, is that correct?
I believe I could see it bleeding from 2 different areas.
Okay. Did you on the 27th of February, the next day, end up coming into contact with him, and were you present when a DNA sample was taken from the defendant?
Yes, I was in the same room.
Okay. For the purpose of the record, I'm now introducing formally the State's Exhibit number. Do you have a number for that yet? I think it's going to be Madam Clerk. May I approach Madam Clerk, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
I believe it should be 207. Is that the next number available? Yes, this is stipulated too. 207. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a video that shows the DNA sample being taken using the swab. Is that correct? You were present for that?
Yes, I was present when that was taken.
Okay.
Actually, Judge, it's 208, 207 was medical records and everything on Friday.
So it's 208?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I publish that to the jury? Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Yeah, that's right, Chief. That's right, Chief. Probably. There you go. You take the license outside and wait. Yeah, he was.
Ms. Singleton, is this you over here, standing over here?
Yes, that's me.
And is this a technician that's taken the DNA sample from Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Introducing evidence of State Exhibit 188. Recognize that as being the DNA sample or swab that was used to obtain a DNA sample from the defendant, Mr. Zimmerman.
I wouldn't have packaged that. I mean, it could be the same one.
You were present when that was done?
I was present when a DNA sample was taken from him.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Ms. Singleton, Did you on a... Going back to the day before, February 26th, did you have a conversation with the defendant where he asked you something regarding a cross that you were wearing?
Yes. After the interviews, I was sitting there with him, and we were just waiting for whatever it was. I don't even recall what it was. But I remember being in the room with him, and I had a silver cross on, and I had a V-neck shirt, so you could see the cross. It's just small, about a 1-inch silver cross. And he asked me if I was Catholic. And do you want me to just tell the whole story?
Yes, please.
He asked me if I was Catholic, and I said no. And I asked him why he would ask me that. And he said because he had noticed the cross. I said no. I'm Christian. And I said, so basically, why does it matter? And he said because in his religion, in the Catholic religion, that it's no matter what, always wrong to kill somebody. And I said, well, as far as what you've said to me, if what you're saying is true, then I don't think that's what God meant. I don't think God meant you can't, save your own life.
Was that the extent of the conversation?
That's basically the essence of the conversation.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I apologize. We want to make sure all the jurors can hear that.
He asked me if I was Catholic. When I asked him why, he said he had noticed the cross. I said, no, I'm Christian. Why does it matter? He said, because in Catholic religion, it's always wrong to kill somebody. I said, well, if what you're telling me how it happened is true, then I don't think that's what God meant. He didn't mean that you couldn't save your own life.
Also, that's not on the recording, did you also have a conversation with him when you were talking about the age of the victim at the time, that he was a certain age? Do you recall that?
Yes, at some point I had said that we weren't able to identify the victim. And he said, well, what do you mean you haven't been able to identify him? I said, well, we don't know who he is. And he said, he's dead? And I said, I thought you knew that. I thought you knew he was dead. And he kind of slung his head and just shook it.
The 27th, we talked about the DNA sample that was taken from the defendant. Were you also present when a reenactment was done? And I'm going to ask Investigator Serino about that. Were you present for parts of that?
Yes, I was present for that.
Were you also present on February the 29th of 2012 at the Sanford Police Department when the defendant was interviewed by Investigator Serino?
Yes.
Okay. Were you present for parts of that also?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, were you involved in actually reading the defendant's constitutional rights and Miranda rights?
Probably so.
Okay. May I'm going to show you what's been marked. If I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
State's Exhibit 177, introducing evidence without objection. Ask you if you recognize State's Exhibit 177.
Yes.
And would those have been, I know it's a bigger form, but is that the same Miranda rights that you would have read to them on the 26th?
Yes, I'm not sure if they're identical word for word, but it's similar in the all.
Okay. And that would have been on 2/29 at 5:15 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. Did he agree to talk to you or specifically also Investigator Serino?
Yes, he agreed to speak with us.
Did you or Investigator Serino threaten him in any way in order to get him to make a statement on February the 29th?
No. We would not do that.
Did you or Investigator Serino make him any promises in order to get him to make a statement?
No, we didn't promise him anything.
I'm sorry, no.
We did not promise him anything.
And did he on February 29th appear to be under the influence of alcohol and or drugs to the point that he did not understand what was going on?
I didn't see any indication of any influence.
And Investigator Serino is going to talk about the interview, but I just wanted to get that preliminary matter out of the way. If I may have the moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, officer.
Good
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. You testified briefly about your background in order to become a law enforcement officer. I just want to touch on that for a moment, okay?
Yes.
I think you said that you had gotten a degree, correct?
Yes.
And was that in criminal justice?
Yes, from the University of Central Florida. It was a major in criminal justice with a minor in legal studies.
Okay. And when did you first consider law enforcement as a career?
After I got out of the military?
Okay. So you were in the military before you went to UCF?
Yes.
May I ask what service you were with?
I was with the Army.
And for how many years?
3.
Did you do any type of work sort of with military police or anything that gave you the insight that you might want to be in law enforcement?
No.
But at some point then after the Army and before college, you made a decision that you might want to consider law enforcement?
Yes.
Why is that?
I wanted to be able to help people, and there was issues in my family that I wanted to show that someone good could come from my family.
Okay. Have you enjoyed it so far?
Yes.
Glad that you made that decision?
Yes.
Been able to help?
I'm sorry?
Have you been able to help like you wanted to?
Not as much as I would like, but yes.
Okay. Sometimes a bit frustrating, I would imagine.
Yes.
But overall, a good profession to be involved in?
Yes.
You've done that now for, I guess, with SPD for just over 9 years?
Just shy of 9 years.
Just shy. Okay. And your involvement in this case was almost happenstance in that you were called in to help out, correct?
Yes.
Normally this may have just gone to whoever else. Had there been somebody else on duty already?
Yes.
But with back then, I guess, just shy of 7.5, 8 years experience, they decided to bring you in order to do the initial interview. Correct?
Yes, Sergeant Santiago decided that.
Okay. And I presume that before February 26th, you've certainly interviewed a number of witnesses before?
Yes.
And a number of suspects?
Yes.
How many of those suspects actually voluntarily give you information without asking for a lawyer?
Most subjects will actually speak with you. Most people will.
And how about in those cases involving a shooting?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. In this case, of course, Mrs. Zimmerman was what we call Mirandized, right? Given advice that he had the right not to talk to you at all, correct?
Yes, he was given that.
And as you testified in direct, you certainly did it in a proper way, and he evidenced that he understood it.
Yes.
And he freely waived it.
Yes, he freely waived it.
And you know, as law enforcement, even an initial waiver can be withdrawn by a suspect.
Yes, and that's explained to them during the Miranda warning readings.
And if at any time any person being interviewed decides to stop, they merely need to tell you that, and then it's over. Correct?
Then it would end, yes.
And only until they decide affirmatively to re-engage you, or if you get permission from their lawyer, would you ever talk to them again?
That's right.
That never happened in this case, correct?
No, he never refused to speak with us.
Sure. He never refused to speak to you that night, either the first or second interview, sort of that break in between, right?
He never refused to speak to us anytime we asked.
And you testified concerning Investigator Sereno's interview with him where you Mirandized him again, and of course he acknowledged those rights then, did he not?
Yes.
And waived them again affirmatively?
Yes.
And never during that interview did he reassert any right to remain silent, did he?
No, he never did.
And you're familiar with the reenactment video where he actually went out to the scene and walked through what had happened, what turned out to be the night before, correct?
Yes, I was there.
Yeah. And, of course, that was done voluntarily, correct?
Yes, it was.
That could not be forced upon him, could it?
No, it could not be.
And it wasn't in this case, was it?
It wasn't.
So every time that George Zimmerman spoke with you, it was voluntary?
Yes.
And he was given full notice he had the right to stop at any point?
Each time, yes.
Let's then talk about the initial interview, and I want to sort of set the stage a little bit for the jury to understand what you knew and maybe what George Zimmerman knew about what had gone on before the interview. So let me ask you, did you know anything about this case other than it was a shooting and you were talking to the person who had shot the other person?
That's about as much as I know.
Yeah. Because basically you were brought in, there was a lot going on at Retreat View, Twin Lakes, and they had to get him talked to away from the scene, and you were the person to do it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we had heard one sort of interaction between you and law enforcement during the interview process, which is where I believe it was Sergeant Santiago talked to you about looking into the videotaping question, correct?
Yes.
All right. Was there any other times during the initial interview with George Zimmerman where he was advised what information existed at the scene?
No. He could not have. I didn't know.
Okay. For example, you know, correct, now, that there was an eyewitness to a part of the event, correct?
I knew after that interview, yes.
No, I mean, today you know that, right?
Today I know that.
You know today that there was an eyewitness to a portion of the event, correct?
Yes.
You know today that there was a 911 call that has screams on it, correct?
Yes.
And of course, you know today that there are a number of other ear witnesses that heard things, and some of them saw other things at some point in this timeline of the shooting. You're aware of that now, right?
Yes, and I spoke with most of them.
Okay. From the questions and answers that Mr. Zimmerman gave you, did he evidence an awareness that he was aware that there was a 911 tape that had documenting at least somebody screaming that night?
The only thing he indicated is the person on the patio that saw him.
Yes.
He
said
that he was going to call 911. That person told him that.
But Mr. Zimmerman never evidenced to you that he knew that there would be a call that actually documented his screamings, did he?
Objection. Calls for facts that are not in evidence that he was the one who's screaming.
I'll rephrase it. As to that, then I'm sorry, I'll rephrase it. Did Mr. Zimmerman ever evidence to you that he knew there was a 911 call that would document somebody screaming for help?
No. During the interview, I suggested to him that possibly someone heard something that was overheard by 911, and he agreed that maybe it had.
But he had told you, even before that part of the conversation, that it was he who was screaming for help, did he?
Yes. Yes.
And you've become aware in this investigation that Officer Tim Smith...
Objection, Mr. Hearsay.
Let me hear the rest of the question.
You've become aware during your involvement in the investigation that Officer Tim Smith was told by Mr. Zimmerman that he was screaming for help.
Same objection, Your Honor.
Correct?
Ask again, please.
Sure. You became aware during your involvement with the investigation that Officer Tim Smith, the first officer on the scene, was told by George Zimmerman within moments after Officer Smith's arrival that George Zimmerman was screaming for help.
Yes, I've learned that.
Okay. And that, of course, was well before any suggestion that you may have said to him that a 911 call may actually document screaming for help.
I never suggested that to him, ever.
He had also told you that during the altercation, and I'm going to use names, obviously you didn't know Trayvon Martin's name during the interview, correct?
I did not know the victim's name.
I'm going to use his name as I question you, if I might, as though you knew it then. Obviously, I know you realized you found it later, but just so we can keep the names separate and identified, okay?
Okay.
When Mr. Zimmerman stated that Trayvon Martin was hitting his head on concrete, had you given Mr. Zimmerman any evidence of that a witness existed to document that?
No, I wouldn't have.
Just a second. There's an
Mr.
objection.
O'Mara testified as to what somebody else said, and this witness had no knowledge of it.
Sustained.
I might rephrase it then, Your Honor. Did you have any information from any source that you related to Mr. Zimmerman that there was an eyewitness who had documented the smashing of the head on concrete?
Same objection as to Mr. O'Mara testifying as to what somebody else possibly said, unless this witness was told this
Okay,
defendant.
there's a speaking objection, but you need to lay a foundation
Okay, yes,
before
Your
you
Honor.
ask that question.
You've become aware, of course, over the time of this investigation that there is an eyewitness who documented that Trayvon Martin was smashing George Zimmerman's head on concrete, correct?
Yes, you may approach.
I apologize.
Can I continue, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Suffice it to say, officer, that there was nothing available from law enforcement, no information available from law enforcement that was given to Mr. Zimmerman before he gave his statement to you, correct?
I didn't have any information that I could have even possibly given.
And there were no other police reports that had already been generated that he may have seen or anything like that, correct?
Nothing had been generated so far.
Is it accurate then to say that this was in one sense the virgin interview where you were getting all the information from him that you could, though you had nothing even to corroborate or to dispute what he was telling you?
That is correct.
You had mentioned, and I'm going to skip around just a little bit and hit
Okay.
subjects rather than the timeline. I think the timeline was going through, and of course, the entirety of your true interaction with Mr. Zimmerman was on the tape, correct? There was small bits that were not.
A little bit before I could get it started.
Right.
Introductions to each other when I walked in the room, I'm sure. And something that may have been said as I walked out, but
Sure. The substance of it we've all heard now from the tape itself.
yes.
And as to that interview, you don't have a great deal of testimony that you can offer the jury except to listen to the tape, correct?
Pretty
For the most
much.
part. Okay. So why are we questioning you? So then why then will we spend a few minutes questioning you? We're going to try and move it along, but obviously, as you know from previous testimony, I just want to make sure we set the stage properly in anything that may have some inquiry, and then we'll move forward. So,
Okay.
Let's go to one of the parts that were talked to about by Mr. Delorionda concerning what wasn't on the tape, and that was the part about whether or not you were Catholic or Christian. And I want to just spend a moment on that, if I might. He had noticed your cross, I think you said?
Yes.
And asked you whether or not you were Catholic.
Yes.
And he told you that he was Catholic?
I don't know that he said he was Catholic. He asked if I were Catholic, and I told him that I wasn't, so I assumed that he was Catholic.
All right. And then you told him you were Christian, and his response was what again?
Because in the Catholic religion, it is always wrong to kill somebody.
And your response to that?
Was that if what you're telling me is truthful, then I don't believe that that is what God means when he means to kill somebody.
Is it your opinion that if what he was telling you is true, presuming that it was true, it was your suggestion then to comfort him in whatever he was working through?
To let him know if he was being truthful that he was in fear for his life and he had to kill Trayvon, that I don't believe that was what God meant.
Okay. And then I think it was just right after that that you had said that Trayvon Martin was not identified yet?
We did not know who he was.
And that was, yes, and that was when you communicated that to George Zimmerman, correct?
I don't know if it was directly at that same moment, but yes, we spoke about not being able to know who the victim was. Mm-hmm. Or I made a statement, I don't know what was in response to, was that we hadn't yet identified the victim.
And his response was that he didn't even realize that Trayvon Martin had passed, correct?
He gave me like a blank stare on his face and said, what do you mean you don't know the victim? I said, well, we don't know who he is. And he said, he's dead? And I asked him, I said to him, I thought you knew that.
At which point he just sort of sunk his head down, looking down to the floor? Or to his stomach?
Towards the table.
On the table? And shook his head, no?
Yeah, I could something like this, and then like he was just.
What did that evidence to you?
I believed him that he didn't realize he was dead based on what I had seen, but I don't want to speculate as to what it might be on that. I'm not sure.
There was questions about, and it was on tape about him needing medical care. That was a concern of his, was it not? At least at one point.
Yes, at one point he said he wasn't sure if he should go.
Okay. But it was such that you talked about it, and he was willing to continue with the interview rather than go to the hospital, correct?
Yes.
Did that cause you any concern?
No, only because FD had already seen him, and I assumed that they had said it was okay for him to come to the police department if he had.
During the interview with you, and I know that you would defer to the tape, but since you were the one sort of three-dimensional there with him, did he evidence that he was angry with Trayvon Martin?
No.
That he had hate for him?
No.
Spite or ill will?
No.
That he had anything that would suggest to you some type of bad attitude towards Trayvon Martin?
No.
Rather, he seemed to be affected by the fact that he realized that Trayvon Martin had passed?
He seemed affected by that.
You were, aside from Officer Tim Smith, really the first officer to have a detailed conversation, or any conversation with him about this case, right?
Yes.
And that was about, you gave us the time, but tell us again if you can, if you recall the timing of it.
I believe I was called about 8 o'clock. So probably about prior to 9 o'clock, maybe I was speaking to him.
And if this happened at 7:15, 7:30, and he was transported after being seen by medical, you got to him within an hour and a half of the event?
I believe so.
Do you know if he had contact with anybody else besides Sanford Police Department?
I don't know. I only know what was told to me.
And that was?
Rescue, police. That was all I knew about.
Of course, though not arrested, he was in police control or custody literally from the scene forward, was he not?
Yes.
And his phone was taken from him, correct?
Yes.
Mention was made that, first of all, you took the tape statement, correct? And we've heard that. And then you asked him to do a written statement. Why have both?
I believe Chris Serino asked me to have him put it on a written statement. I believe Chris Serino had asked me to have him put it on a written statement as well.
Okay. And with that microphone, it's very sensitive. If you get within about an inch or so, we can't hear. If you get more than 5 inches back, we can't hear you. So there's a range in there that if you can try and stay within, it'll help the jury hear us and all of us.
I'll try.
Thank you. Okay. You've had a chance to look at both of those statements, correct?
Yes.
And, of course, you heard yours today, and you heard the tape today, and you even had to read the second one today, correct?
I don't recall reading,
No, I mean...
having read the written one prior to today.
But you just read it today?
Yes.
Okay. In 9 years or so of law enforcement experience, did you notice any significant inconsistencies in those two statements?
Significant? No.
But there were certainly some, weren't there?
I'm sure there's some.
Is that expected in your business?
Yes, most people don't tell you the same story the same way twice each time.
Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, just telling a story, you don't tend to get the exact details the same each and every time.
Okay. So when you looked at those two statements, did you consider them to be significantly different, such that you thought he was lying on one or fudging on one?
Well, I couldn't have made that determination then because I hadn't read the statement back then.
I mean, right now?
Right now? No. I don't see any significant differences.
So in your experience, when taking multiple statements from a witness, sometimes there are differences?
Yes.
How about witnesses who have gone through traumatic events? Does that affect their ability to recount stories?
Yes, as well as the same
Why is
event
that?
being viewed by two different people. It's sometimes different.
Okay. And how does a traumatic event affect their ability to retell stories multiple times?
I'm not sure how it works, but I just know that it happens.
Okay. You were present during Investigator Serino's statement as well. Well, the statement he gave to Officer Serino as well, correct?
Yes.
And did you notice significant differences in that statement compared to these two?
Not significant, no.
But some minor changes?
Some minor differences, yes.
And do you recall what they were?
I remember one where he told me that he walked away, and then in the interview when we listened to the tape, he was telling the dispatcher that he had ran away, he was running.
And when the he you're talking about, at one point he told you, he being George Zimmerman, told you that Trayvon Martin walked away.
Walked between the houses.
Walked between the houses. Yet a review of, let's say, Investigator Serino's statement suggests that he told Investigator Serino that Trayvon Martin had run away. And that's a difference that you noticed?
Right, and that's what it said. What he had said on the dispatch was that he ran.
Right, and I was going to say, we know from previous evidence that the dispatch non-emergency calls suggest that he ran away. And you're aware of that, aren't you?
Yes.
And that was a difference that you noted?
Yes.
Consider that to be significant?
No.
Why not?
Because I just assumed that he had come in and out of view at least twice, according to him. And whether or not he was running or walking, I don't think was mattered.
Okay. Do you attach, when you look at different statements and determine whether or not the differences are significant, do you attach to those differences whether or not they help tell a narrative that might be beneficial to the witness or opposed to another witness? Is that part of what you look at?
Yes, part of what we look at.
Okay. So if running or walking isn't significant to the overall narrative, it doesn't seem to catch you as being a significant difference?
It had been prior to, the running and walking occurred prior to when we know on the 911 call he had lost sight of him. So it wouldn't have changed anything. So that's why I didn't feel it was that important.
Okay. When he said to you that he had walked through past the T because he wasn't sure the name of the street that he had just left, did that cause you any concern?
I thought that as a neighborhood watch person, he would have known the names of the streets, yes.
Okay. So tell me how you absorbed that or what you thought about that.
I was wondering if he was wanting to get out of the car.
Okay. And have you had a chance to go down by the scene to see whether or not there is street signs at that area?
I know there's no street signs where he said that he parked.
Okay. Were there any questions that you asked him or any changes in his story along the way that caused you concern?
Not significantly, no.
You've had those cases, haven't you? Where witnesses are telling you a story, you might question them a little bit, and then all of a sudden they remember a whole different fact?
Yes.
Okay. Did any of that happen here?
No.
When he told you that Trayvon Martin got up or said something to him, like words like "you got me" or words to that effect, did that surprise you?
No.
And when he said that he had gotten on top of Trayvon Martin to spread his hands or to do something, and he had told another person to help him, did that cause you any concern? Is that part of the presentation by Mr. Zimmerman?
No.
In the written statement that Mrs. Zimmerman wrote out for you, focus was on the fact that he called Trayvon Martin a suspect. Did he know Trayvon Martin's name at that time?
No.
Did you?
No.
Okay. So he had to be called something. Would you agree?
Yes.
Did you consider to be suspect such an outrageous term to use that it caused you concern?
I didn't read it at the time.
How about today?
No, I don't think it's unusual.
Okay. Let's just have a moment now. When Mr. De Leonda suggested to you that Mr. Zimmerman was claiming that this happened, he was claiming that happened, and that he claimed to be going through this. Was that what he was saying to you when he was talking to you? I hereby claim that I was in fear. I hereby claim that I was walking down this roadway.
No, he didn't say it that way.
He was just talking to you as he was in the tape, right?
Yes.
And similarly, in the written statement, that was just him giving his story both verbally and in writing, wasn't it?
Yes.
You had stated that there were two things I think I wanted to focus you on. At one point, you had stated that Mrs. Zimmerman told you that he thought Trayvon Martin might have come from some bushes. Is
Yes.
that correct? And then you also stated that he had said to you that he wasn't really exactly sure where he came from.
That's
Is that
correct. Yes.
Do you consider that to be a significant concern, or just him attempting to explain things for you?
I didn't think that was significant because he said it was dark out there.
You've seen some of the pictures out there that night, right?
Yes.
Would you agree, if I use the term pitch black, that it was pretty much pitch black out there?
Yes.
And you know that there are first of all, you know that there are bushes out there, correct?
There's bushes, I believe, on the end of the buildings.
I'm going to have just a moment.
And also, I believe there's bushes around some of the people who have air conditioners. They go around, I believe. There's bushes in those areas as well.
I might have a moment to have a couple of these marked on it. And there may not be an objection, so I'll just move them into evidence.
There's no objection. I believe they're in.
I think they're in. For ease of use, I have them right here.
Do you want to use them as a composite exhibit or
I
individually?
think the clerk likes us to have them individual, so I'll use individual if I might go on. Yes.
So if there's no objection, one of them, I don't know which one you're handing to the clerk first, will come in as Defense Exhibit 21. The second one will come in as Defense Exhibit 22.
Thank you, Donna. And may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Officer Singleton, I'm going to show you pictures not of the way the scene was that night, but the next day, and ask if this is what you're familiar with. I'm going to show you both 22 and 21 because they're of a similar area. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, there's bushes. I believe there's probably an air conditioner back here. And then this shows the end of the building.
So if you would just identify the number as you show it to the jury.
There's likely
the number.
144?
It's,
HH.
It's 22.
Oh, this one, 22. Okay.
Thank you.
I believe there's probably an air conditioner back here. So there's some bushes there. And then this is the end of the building. And there's bushes along the wall.
And if you would show the jury the similar locations on Exhibit 21.
Here and here.
And again, also further down in front of each unit, correct?
Yes. Each unit has bushes around their air conditioners, from what I can tell from that picture.
Of course, none of those bushes had any lights in them from your view of the nighttime photographs, do they?
No, there's no lights in the bushes.
Thank you. So it was not a concern of yours that Mr. Zimmerman first said he may have come out of bushes and then said not exactly sure where he came from?
Right.
Did that seem to be an event or a difference that can cause you any concern whatsoever?
No, I was just looking at the bushes while we were out there trying to figure out, this kid's pretty tall, like what bushes, if he did come out of bushes, would he most likely be coming from?
Okay. Would you agree with the pictures that we saw of that night that he could easily have simply just come out of the darkness?
Sustained.
Nothing further than Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any redirect?
Officer Singleton, wouldn't you agree that what's significant or what's not significant is up to the jury?
Sure.
You're just subjective state of mind, right? In terms of you have an opinion based on what he asked you. Mr.
Yes, he
Romero,
asked me for my opinion.
right? And when you agree with us, what's important is what the jury believes, correct?
It's important what they believe, yes.
Okay. Now, isn't it true, ma'am, when Mr. Romero kept asking you questions that you had not been out to the scene at that time? When you spoke to the defendant.
I'd never gone to the scene that night.
And isn't it also true that the defendant is telling you that he thought the person you now know, the 17-year-old boy, was alive, correct?
I object, Your Honor, leading.
Sustained.
The defendant told you, I believe you told Mr. Romero that he said he was surprised to learn that Trayvon Martin was alive.
He didn't say that. When
How did he react when you told him he was dead?
he said he's dead.
And that left you the impression that he thought he was alive.
That was my impression, that I thought he was alive. That I believed that he thought that he was alive.
And Mr. Zimmerman, the defendant, in his statements to you, told you that he was scared of the defendant, of Mr. Zimmerman. I'm sorry, of Trayvon Martin.
Let me object, Your Honor. That's a mischaracterization of the evidence and the testimony to date. So I would.
I'm glad to rephrase it.
Okay, thank you.
In his statements to you, Mr. Zimmerman told you that he claims that the defendant was being bashed. His head was being bashed into the concrete, correct?
Slammed into the concrete.
Slammed. And he had to shoot the person you now know as Trayvon Martin, correct?
That's what he said he did.
That's what he said he did. You weren't there.
I wasn't there.
You don't know whether that's true or not.
No, I don't know whether that's true or not.
But he told you, at some point you told him that the victim was actually dead, correct?
Yes.
And how did he react?
Shocked.
Okay. Do you know why, if Mr. Zimmerman, the defendant, claimed or didn't realize that the victim was dead, why he would holster his gun back if he was so scared of Trayvon Martin? If he was still alive, why he would holster his gun back?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Sustained. This is speculation.
Do you know why Mr. Zimmerman told you he holstered his gun back? Did he elaborate on that?
Objection. I'm sorry. I think that was a factual question. I apologize.
Did Mr. Zimmerman elaborate as to why he would holster his gun back if he thought the victim was alive?
He didn't put those two terms together.
That wasn't significant to you?
I don't know if that's significant.
Well, tell me, how many times have you gone out to a scene where you were trying to apprehend a suspect, right, a person that
Yes.
you believe is committing a crime, and you don't believe the person or you think the person is a threat at you? Do you holster your gun if the person's still at large or moving around?
No.
What do?
I wait till it's safe.
Right? You keep the gun on the person till you make sure he's either dead or he's apprehended, correct?
Yes.
By the way, did you use the word suspect or did he, Mr. Zimmerman, use the word suspect?
I didn't use the word suspect to him.
And so when Mr. O'Mara asked you about the word suspect now being significant, that is because you're used to using the word suspect when you're apprehending or describing somebody who you feel or you suspect is committing a crime, correct?
Yes, that's what I use.
Do you know why Mr. Zimmerman switched from using the word they to suspect when he referred to the victim?
Objection, that would be speculation.
Sustained.
You would agree that would be pure speculation, right?
Yes.
Her answer would be speculation, or I'm sorry, I object on
The
speculation.
changing of the terms would be for her to be
Yes, Your Honor.
speculation.
You agree that would be you speculating, correct?
Yes.
Just like all the questions that Mr. O'Mara asked you about significance and all that would be you speculating, correct?
Which question?
All the questions he asked you about whether you knew that Mr. Zimmerman, the defendant, had ill will, hatred, or angry at Trayvon Martin. You weren't able to get into Mr. Zimmerman's mind at the time he did the shooting, were you?
No.
You weren't able to get into his mind as to why he followed this person, were you?
Only what he told me.
So you didn't know what was in his heart or in his mind at the time that he sought out, or to use his words, followed the 17-year-old unarmed boy.
I only knew what he told me.
You were also asked about whether there was an eyewitness or not there. You hadn't interviewed anybody up to the point you interviewed a defendant, had you?
No, I didn't speak to anybody prior to speaking with Zimmerman.
If I second. I vote good. Mr. Romero asked you about the screaming. Remember, Mr. Romero asking you questions about recording about screaming?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Zimmerman, the defendant told you that he saw people out there, correct?
Yes.
So he had to have known that if somebody was screaming, whether it was him or somebody else, somebody would have heard it.
Someone potentially heard it because they came out and they said he's seen them.
Right?
Or he said he's seen at least one person.
Right. The defendant is just claiming that it was him. You can't say whether it was him or not, can you?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
You can't say that it was Mr. Zimmerman, the defendant, who was screaming for help.
I can't say that, no.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just so we're clear, I had you talk about whether or not Mr. Zimmerman had ill will, hatred, spite, and the other ones that are necessary for second-degree murder. I wasn't asking you to speculate. I want to be very clear. What I asked you for was whether or not you had any evidence. You know what evidence, of course, is. So, did you have any evidence to support a contention that Mr. Zimmerman acted in your presence in such a way that you thought he had ill will?
And that's what I thought you asked me, and that's what I was answering.
I just want to clear it up.
No, he didn't evidence any of that.
No spite, no hatred, no animosity, did he?
If he had it, he didn't show it.
So the only evidence you would be able to present on that issue, not your speculation, but just the evidence, would be that you didn't see any.
I didn't see him act out anything.
And I think you said that if you were in a shooting situation, right, even where you just have to draw your service revolver, you would not reholster it until you were safe. Is that accurate?
I would reholster it once I believed the threat was no longer.
Right. Like maybe when another officer came up with a flashlight,
yes.
You knew you had backup. At that point, would you feel more comfortable putting it away?
Absolutely.
Okay. When another witness came up, and when you realized that the person who you just had to shoot was staying face down, would that give you good cause to believe it was now safe to reholster your weapon?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Any of you read that?
The ill will or hatred, what you're saying is that at the time you were interviewing, he was not showing ill will or hatred, correct?
Right.
Okay. Because Mr. Zimmerman, wouldn't you agree, was trying to convince you that he hadn't done anything wrong, right?
I asked him to tell me what happened, and yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singleton. Officer Singleton, may excuse?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can we approach a moment before we make that decision?
Yes.
Thank you.
Officer Singleton, you're excused from the courtroom, but you're still on recall under subpoena. Thank you very much. The state please call their next witness.
May we call Investigator or Officer Chris Serino.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Good afternoon, sir. Christopher F. Serino.
What is your occupation?
I'm a Sanford police officer.
How long have you been a member of the Sanford Police Department?
Going on 16 years.
And prior to that, did you have some law enforcement experience, sir?
Yes, sir, I did.
Could you briefly tell us about that?
With the Department of Defense out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii as a uniformed federal police officer.
How long were you so employed?
2 years.
What are your current duties with the Sanford Police Department?
A patrol officer.
Okay. And how long have you been a patrol officer this time? I know you've gone back and forth.
I believe since July or August of last year.
Okay. Back in February of 2012, were you assigned to the Investigative Division or Major Crime Section unit?
Yes, sir, I was.
And how many tours have you done in that unit and then also back to patrol? Is that a normal thing, or tell us about that briefly?
It's a lateral transfer position. This is my third tour back there.
I want to draw your attention to February 26th of 2012. Were you the on-call investigator, and did you respond to the retreat at Twin Lakes?
Yes, sir, I was.
Approximately what time do you believe you got there?
I believe I got there at approximately 8 p.m.
And when you arrived there, were there officers already present?
Yes, sir, there were.
Okay. Was the body of the person later identified to you as Trayvon Benjamin Martin still at the scene, sir?
Yes, he was.
And was the person who shot Trayvon Martin, that is George Zimmerman, still at the scene when you arrived?
No, he was not.
And did you remain at the scene and later go to the Sanford Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the scene, did you speak to officers there?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you also meet with witnesses?
Yes, sir, I did.
When you first arrived, had the body of the victim, Trayvon Martin, been identified at that point?
No, sir, he had not.
Okay. And at that time, you didn't know who he was or whether he even lived in that area, is that correct?
No, sir, we didn't know.
Were attempts made to identify him at the scene, sir?
Yes, there were.
And can you briefly tell us how that was done, sir?
By facial recognition of officers that were there, by canvassing the area for potential people that may have known who he was. We ultimately were able to obtain a device. It's called the live scan device, and we checked his fingerprints to see if they were on file in our database, and we had no results.
So everything was negative in terms of being able to identify the person you now know as Trayvon Benjamin Martin?
Yes, sir. All attempts were negative.
Okay. And later, in fact, did you further check at the Sanford Police Department and his name did not appear in your all's records? Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Now, later that evening, did you end up going to the Sanford Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And do you recall exactly what time you got there?
It was around midnight.
Okay. When you came into the Sanford Police Department, did you end up having contact with the person now known to you as George Zimmerman?
Yes, I did.
Could you please identify him by stating where he is seated in article of clothing that he wears?
At the defense table.
Your Honor, if the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
When you came into contact with the defendant, George Zimmerman, were you aware that he already had been interviewed by investigator Doris Singleton?
Yes, sir.
And did you have a very brief interview with him right after midnight, around 12:05 or so a.m.?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Pull it up. And before I play that, was that interview recorded in terms of a audio recording?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Go ahead.
This investigator from the Sanford Police Department. Today's date is.
For purpose of the record, Your Honor, I believe we need to introduce that into evidence as the next exhibit. It's going to be number 179. Has previously been shown to defense counsel, and they have no objection.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, it comes in as State's Exhibit 179.
Investigators from the Sanford Police Department. Today's date is Monday, February the 27th, 2012. It's now 12:05 a.m. Located at the Sanford Police Station, 815 West 13th Street, City of Sanford, Zimmerman County, Florida. The person's in the room with George Zimmerman, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your date of birth, sir?
10/5/83.
Highest level of education?
Associates.
Okay, you've been in what? In what? Okay. You've read your rights correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You understand that you're not quite free to go because we're in the process of, but you're not quite going to jail, that kind of stuff?
Yes,
I got the gist of it all. I'm going to ask a quick question. This photograph right I'm showing you right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you recognize that face?
No, sir.
Okay, this is the person that had the incident with you today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's going to be important for you to understand. I'll show you the pictures later on. I don't know who he is. Okay. Real briefly, I'm going to give you what I got. Okay. You were going to the store.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you saw somebody who felt to be suspicious.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This suspicious person, because they're breaking into the neighborhood, you decided to call 911.
No, sir. The non-emergency line.
You called 911?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the 665, 6650, or the others?
199.
Okay, so you did non-emergency. Okay. You reported a suspicious person?
Yes, sir.
You followed this person?
Yes, sir.
You lost visual on this person? Where did this whole thing start at?
Retreat B Circle in the...
Okay, tomorrow morning, daylight hours. Do you work?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Digital Risk Maitland.
When do you get out of work?
5 p.m.
Okay, when do you start work?
9 a.m.
Okay, 5 p.m. tomorrow, when you get off work, when you get home, can you call me?
Yes, sir.
So we can go ahead and walk through the scene entirely?
I have class tomorrow.
Okay.
I can skip it.
Can you get a note? Who's your instructor? What are you taking?
I'm continuing for my bachelor's.
In criminal justice? Which university?
Political science. SCC, the UCF.
UCF? Partnership? Okay. What time does class start?
6:30.
We could probably do this in half an hour. Okay. I want to retrace your path. Okay, exactly what happened. I want to videotape this. The difference between statutes and homicide and justifiable homicide, use of force, you're aware of them, you're familiar with what we're talking about here, right? Okay. You follow this person, you lose sight of this person, you're walking in the darkness out there, you have a flashlight?
It was dead. I had one, but it was dead.
You had to hit it a couple times. It's on right now. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, okay. It's probably the one I had. Got to smack it around a couple times. This person jumped you from somewhere?
Yes, sir.
From the darkness?
Yes, sir.
Did he say anything to you?
Yes, sir.
What did he say to you?
When he came up to me, he said, "You got a problem?" And I said, "No." And then I went to reach for my phone to find my phone to call 911 instead of non-emergency.
Okay.
And then he punched me. He said, "You have a problem now," and then he punched me in the face.
Let's just say, okay, you have a problem now. Okay. He punched and you fell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got injuries where you punched in your face or your chest or where?
In my face.
Okay.
My head. All over my head.
Okay. You cleaned up already because Officer Smith said you were pretty much battered when...
Yes, sir.
Okay. He mounted you basically?
Yes, sir.
And he started to beat up on you?
Yes, sir.
At what point did you draw your weapon?
After he hit my head against the concrete several times.
Okay.
I yelled out for help, and then he tried to smother my mouth and my
Who
nose.
yelled for help?
I did.
Okay. And at which point he did what?
He smothered my mouth and my nose.
Okay.
And when he did that, I tried to slide out and squirm.
Uh-huh.
And I realized my shirt came up. And I felt him slide his hand towards my right side.
Okay.
And he said, "You're going to die, motherfucker." And then that's when I grabbed it. I don't know if it was away from him or, I just...
So he was going for your gun?
Yes, sir.
What kind of gun was it?
A Kel-Tec PF9.
9mm? Okay, semi-automatic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What kind of ammunition?
I think it was hollow point.
Okay. Okay. What happened then?
I shot him.
It was unholstered entirely? You cleared the holster?
Yes,
and you shot him?
Yes, sir.
One time?
One time.
Okay. When you shot him, what happened?
He kind of sat up and he said, "You got me."
Okay.
And so I don't remember if I pushed him or he fell, but somehow I got out from under him.
Uh-huh.
And when he was hitting me, I don't know what he was hitting me with. I thought he had something in his hands.
Uh-huh.
So I grabbed his hands when I was on top of him, and I spread his hands away from his body because he was still talking. And I was on top of him. And that's when somebody came, and they had a flashlight too.
Okay.
And I thought it was a police officer, so I got off of him.
What was he saying when he was talking to you?
I don't know. After "you got me," I don't remember.
Okay. if you're going to have anxiety over this and nightmares and everything else, so you're probably going to have a hard time with this whole thing. I'm here for that. That's all I can give you between now until tomorrow. I can get you other kinds of help afterwards, okay? But you got to go and get some rest. Is there anything else you want to add? So in your mind's eye, this person was committing no good over there. You followed in good faith to go ahead and see what he was doing. He jumped you. He attacked you, okay? He reached for your gun. You discharged. You got off of him. You only shot once. Police arrived. You surrendered. And here you are.
He told me he was going to kill me.
Exactly. He said he was going to kill you. Okay. Anything else you want to add? You've already maybe once already probably done. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the same as now, 12:10.
Investigator Sereno, may I approach the witness, Your Honor? Investigator Sereno, you mentioned in the interview with the defendant that you showed him a photograph with this defendant photograph you would have shown him?
I believe so, sir.
Right, if I may publish that to the jury?
Yes, you may.
Investigator Sereno, when you showed him this photograph, the defendant told you he didn't know the person, correct?
That's correct, sir.
When you spoke to him, I want to show you some photographs. I'll probably need Ms. Waldrop's help. Get the photographs. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, but you're on the side. You see that in front of you, State's Exhibit 64?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is this the condition that you observed the defendant, Mr. Zimmerman, when you spoke to him, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I don't think I need the lights anymore. My question is, when you spoke to him, did you have any problems understanding him when he spoke to you?
No, sir, I did not.
Did he have any problems understanding you, sir?
No, sir.
Did you threaten him in any way in order to get him to make any statements, sir?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you make him any promise in order to get him to make his statements?
No.
Your observations of the defendant that evening, did you consider those injuries to be minor, major, or what?
Minor.
You mentioned you made arrangements in that recording is reflected to meet with him later the next, I guess it technically would have been the morning of the 27th, later that evening, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, later that morning, before you made contact with the defendant, did you become aware of a missing person report that turned out to be Trayvon Martin?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you respond back to the scene and go to 2631 Retreat View Circle, where Brandy Green lived and where Trayvon Martin was staying that weekend?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness again?
Yes, you may.
There's two of them. Investigator Sereno, showing you State Exhibit 140. When you came into contact with Brandy Green, and I believe also Tracy Martin, would that have been at 2631?
Yes, sir.
And is that where you understood Mr. Martin, Trayvon Martin, was staying the day he got killed?
Yes, he was.
I want to make sure I get the right place. It's right here.
The third?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Did you end up showing Tracy Martin the photograph, and did he identify that person as his son?
Yes, I did.
Now, sir, I want to draw your attention to February 27th, that same day. Did you later come into contact with the defendant, George Zimmerman, at the retreat at Twin Lakes, sir?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And were you present when the defendant was interviewed? Specifically, he was put in a car with Sergeant Randy Smith, and you followed with investigator Singleton, and then later the defendant actually gets out of the vehicle and demonstrates to you or describes what he claims occurred?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you reviewed that video?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And for the record, Your Honor, it's State's Exhibit 181. And, Your Honor, before we play it, we do have an instruction that we would request the court to read at that time. It's titled, State's Proposed Jury Instruction Regarding the Redaction of Defendant's Interview with Sanford Police Investigators.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at the direction of the court, certain portions of the defendant's interview with the Sanford Police Department investigators have been excised or redacted based on legal determinations made by the court. The parts excised or redacted are not relevant, and you are not to concern yourselves with why this occurred or with the content of any excised or redacted portions. Thank you.
And with the court's permission, may we publish that to the jury now? She said that this right here is going to be the defendant in Sergeant Randy Smith's car. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Today's date is February the 27th. It's now 5:20 in the afternoon, 17:20 hours. And this is reference to Sanford Police Case number 2012 1136.
Right here, right in front of this house.
Okay. Right in front of 1460?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what was he? He was walking in between the buildings, or?
He was walking like in the grassy area, like up towards, kind of between these two poles. And like I said, it was rainy, and he was just leisurely looking at the house. And like I said, my wife I left for the grocery store, and I just felt like something was off about him.
Right.
So I said, and there's been a history of break-ins in that building, and I called previously about this house.
Right.
When the police arrived at this house, when I called the first time, the windows were open and the door was unlocked. And the police came and secured it. So I said, you know what, it's better to just call, and I kept driving. I passed him, and he kept staring at me and staring around, looking around to see who else was. I don't know why he was looking at me.
Did he walk off from there, or did he stop there last night?
He stopped, and he like looked around, and that's what threw me off. Was it's raining. I didn't understand why somebody would be just stopping in the rain, especially, I mean, it wasn't like he was trying to run to get out of the rain, and I had never seen him before. Didn't look like he was exercising.
Where was he standing at when he stopped?
Right in front of 14th.
On the sidewalk or in the grass?
Yeah, the grassy area.
Right in the grassy area? Okay. That's about right in front of where the car is?
Yes, sir.
And then
I drove past him.
Okay.
And I went to the clubhouse.
All right.
Up here on the right-hand side.
And parked up there?
Yes, sir.
And what was his, naturally he left. He caught up to you up here, or?
Yes, I called the non-emergency line, and when I got through, I parked at the clubhouse.
All right.
And they asked me, where I was, and I told them the clubhouse, and I think I gave them the address to the clubhouse.
Where'd you park at?
Right up here next to that green truck. I don't think that truck was there, but I just pulled up.
Okay. So you just pulled in here?
Yes, sir.
And this is where you got out?
No. This is where I just stopped to call, and then he walked past me, and he kept looking at my car, and still looking around at the houses and stuff. So then the dispatcher said, where did he go? What direction did he go in? And I said, I don't know. I lost, because he cut down here and made a right. I guess it's Twin Trees Lane. He made a right in there. And they said, well, what direction did he go in? And I said, I don't know. I can't see him.
Okay.
And they said, can we get to somewhere where you can see him? And I said, yeah, I can. So I backed out.
All right.
And I made this right here. And I left here. And I parked right about where that sign is in the yard.
In front of the Ford truck?
Yes, and I saw him. Right about here. And I saw him walking back that way and then cut through the back of the houses. He looked back and he noticed me and he cut back through the houses. I was still on the phone with non-emergency. And then he came back and he started walking up towards the grass and then came down and he circled my car. And I told the operator that. He was circling my car. I didn't hear if he said anything.
Right.
But he had his hand in his waistband. And I think I told the operator that. And they said, where are you? And I could not remember the name of the street. Because I don't live on this street.
Right.
Retreat View Circle goes in a circle.
Right.
And I said, I don't know. And he goes, we need an address. And I said, I don't know an address. I think I gave them my address. And they said, give us directions to get to you. And I said, if you tell the police to go straight at the clubhouse and make a left, my truck will be there. And again, they asked me where he went, what direction he went in. And I said, I don't know. And then I thought to get out and look for a street sign.
Right.
So I got out of my car and I started walking.
Go ahead.
I was still on the phone with non-emergency and I started walking.
Okay.
And because I didn't see a street sign here, but I knew if I went straight through that's Retreat View Circle, and I could give him an address because he said, just give me the address of the house you're in front of. And there's no address because this is the back of the house. So I walked straight through here, and I didn't see him at all. I was walking, and I was still on the phone with the non-emergency.
Okay.
I got to about to the street, and I was going to give them this address, and they said, well, if he's not there, do you still want a police officer? And I said, yes. And they said, do you still want a police officer? And I said, yes. And they said, are you following him? Oh, I'm sorry, back there, they said, are you following him? And I said, yes, because I was, in the area. And they said, we don't need you to do that. And I said, okay. So that's when I walked straight through here to get the address so that I could meet the police officer. And then they said, I said, he's not here. They said, do you still want him to come? And I said, yes. And they said, where do you want him to come to? And I said, just tell him to meet me at my truck next to the clubhouse. If you go straight into the clubhouse and makes a left, I have 100 Ridge silver 100 Ridge lines parked right there. I'll meet him right there. So I started walking back. I passed here, I looked, I didn't see anything again, and I was walking back to my truck. And then when I got to right about here, he yelled from behind me to the side of me. He said, yo, you got a problem? And I turned around, and I said, no, I don't have a problem, man.
Where was he at?
He was about there, but he was walking towards me.
This direction here?
Yes, sir. Like I said, I was already past that, so I didn't see exactly where he came from. But he was about where you were.
Okay.
And I said, no, I don't have a problem. And I went to go grab my cell phone, but I left it in a different pocket. And I looked down in my pant pocket, and he said, you got a problem now. And then he was here, and he punched me in the face.
Right here?
Right up around here.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't remember exactly. I think I stumbled, and I fell down, he pushed me down, somehow he got on top of me.
On the grass or on the cement?
It was more over towards here. I think I was trying to push him away from me, and then he got on top of me somewhere around here. And that's when I started screaming for help. I started screaming, help, help, as loud as I could. And then is when he grabbed me. Oh, I tried to sit up, and that's when he grabbed me by the head and tried to slam my head down. And
were you on this, I guess,
no, my body was on the grass. My head was on the cement.
You can't see your face on this one?
Yes, sir. That's as best as I could feel through my jacket. I felt like my body was on the grass and my head was on the cement, and he just kept slamming it. And I kept yelling, help, 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 as loud as I could. He put his hand on on my nose, and his other hand on my mouth. He said, shut the fuck up. And then I tried squirming again, because all I could think about was when he was hitting my head against it, felt like my head was going to explode, and I thought I was going to lose consciousness. So I tried to squirm so that I could because he only had a small portion of my head on the concrete. So I tried to squirm off the concrete. And when I did that, somebody here opened the door. And I said, help me, help me. And they said, I'll call 911. I said, no, help me. I need help. And I don't know what they did, but that's when my jacket moved up and I had my firearm on my right side hip. My jacket moved up, and he saw it. I feel like he saw it. He looked at it, and he said, you're going to die tonight, motherfucker. And he reached for it, but he reached, like I felt his arm going down to my side, and I grabbed it, and I just grabbed my firearm, and I shot him. One time.
After you shot him, keep on going, what did he say?
After I shot him, he sat up.
You're still in this position here, basically.
Yes, sir.
Down here. You shot him so he's in the grass.
Yes, sir. He was on top of me like this. I shot him. And I didn't think I hit him because he sat up and he said, oh, you got me. You got it. You got me. You got it. Something like that. So I thought he was just saying, I know you have a gun now. I heard it. I'm giving up. So I don't know if I pushed him off me or he fell off me. Either way, I got on top of him and I pushed his arms apart. And I said,
trying to flip him over?
I don't remember how I got on top of him. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But I got on his back and I moved his arms apart because when he was repeatedly hitting me in So I moved his hands apart.
So you had him face down then?
Yes, face down, and I was on his back. And then somebody came with a flashlight, and I thought it was a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Are you the police?" And I still had my handgun out, and I told him, I said, "Are you the police?" And my gun's right here. And he goes, "No, I'm not. I'm calling the police." I said, "Don't call the police. Help me restrain this guy." And he said, "I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police." And I said, "I already called. They're on their way. They're coming. I need your help." And then's when the police officer came around. I saw the police officer. So I stood up and I holstered my weapon. And he said, "Who shot him?" And I said, "I did." And I put my hands up. I said, "I did." And I don't know if he told me to. I just automatically turned my back to him. And I lifted my shirt and I said, "My gun's right there." And I told him a few times, I said, "My gun's right there." And he goes, "Okay, I understand. I just need you to keep your hands up." And he put the handcuffs on me, and then he took my firearm from me.
Any questions?
I don't have anything else?
No, sir.
You got no idea where he came from, or if he was over in this area. You walked by here, you never saw him?
No, I didn't see him at all. I looked as I was on the phone with the non-emergency. I looked, and I didn't see him at all. And I said, "He's gone." I think I said something to the effect.
It was lighting about that time.
It was dark.
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 We fight with that.
None of the porch lights were on, nothing out back there?
No.
That's real dark. Winter week camp was 7:30. You see, did it better. So 7:15 was 7, right? 7:15.
I've been looking at my phone. The only thing I saw was was on my front door, from Sanford PD, that he lived in the neighborhood. I have a broken nose. She said I could use stitches, but she'd rather not put them in, as long as I didn't mess with my head, because the skin was already healing nicely. She said she didn't have to put stitches in right away.
Emergency room or your primary care?
My primary care.
Does he give you the antibiotics or anything?
Pain medicine, and she gave me a referral for an ENT, because she said that the swelling wouldn't let them do anything to my nose right now. But once the swelling went down, if I had a deviated septum or a disfigured septum, they would be able to fix it, but there's nothing they could do right now.
Okay. Let's go back to your house and talk over there. Let's see what this person has to say. I'll meet you back over here in a second. Let's see what this person has to say. Will it help as far as your injuries documented from something like that, if possible?
Okay. I'll ask her for them.
Yeah.
She made note of everything.
Let me write them down with this.
Yeah, just start turning around and get the back of his head. Butterfly.
Do you want me to move? I said, do you want me to move or you move? Sorry. Moving also.
It's always better to have you say a couple words to her.
Oh, she said I had a...
My brother saw something that we needed to know. It's always better to have
spring SI. Something about my sciatic something. And she gave me just this scrapes there. I don't think so. No, I had a long sleeve shirt and a jacket on top. So. No, he was was just focused on my head. There's the little bruising there. There's one there. There's a cut
So
here.
the swelling went down, because I remember yesterday, I remember seeing swelling around right here, and I don't see it now.
My wife is an RN student, so she went to work. Just good to keep her busy, I guess.
Investigator Serena, I want to move now to February the 29th. Did you have further contact with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And was that at the police, Sanford Police Department?
Yes, it was.
Was an interview conducted of the defendant on that day?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And were his Miranda rights given by Investigator Singleton?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Your Honor, in terms of time frame, we're going to have to play a recording now. It's about 45 minutes or so I'm fine, but I don't know.
Recess before we begin the recording, or just go forward? You're good? Okay.
Your Honor, at this time we would move into evidence, State Exhibit 181. I'm sorry, that was what it is. I apologize. 182.
Okay, no objection?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, 182 will come into evidence.
And Your Honor, we would ask that the court read the same instruction that we previously.
I need it from the clerk. Ladies and gentlemen, at the direction of the court, certain portions of defendant's interview with the Sanford Police Department investigators have been excised or redacted based on legal determinations made by the court. The parts excised or redacted are not relevant, and you are not to concern yourselves with why this occurred or with the content of any excised or redacted portions.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
You had previously testified about a recording that was on, and this one is actually videotaped. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
There are parts of it, though, that apparently you have a recorder to that's only audio. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you're not in the room, I guess there's audio parts, and then you also, at the end, leave the room with the defendant and I believe Investigator Singleton, too, where it's only audio because you go somewhere else where there's not an ability to videotape this?
Yes, sir.
But you're back in the room. I have to read them to you again. And I'll just have you time like you did before. It's just a different format. The other one was on a cord and it's just the Constitution requires I inform you that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used in court as evidence against you. You're entitled to talk to an attorney now or have them present now or anytime during questioning. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you without cost. Do you desire to consult with an attorney first or have one during this interview? Okay. If at any time hereafter you wish to remain silent or have an attorney present, all questioning will be stopped. Okay. Has anyone at any time threatened, coerced, promised you anything in order to induce you to make a statement? No? Okay. Do you understand your rights?
Yes.
Okay. And do you want to talk with us at this time? Yes. Okay. And 7 minutes left for me, you're not going home. You got to go home regardless tonight. But,
I didn't even know that.
just don't want you to think, I'm telling you.
Thank you.
I mean, because no, it's because you're in custody. You're not really in custody. You can't be voluntarily, right?
Yes.
Okay. I witnessed this. Back to the Joy.
She is surprisingly well.
Sweet. I think that was my hair first that time.
Stronger than me.
What?
Stronger than me.
She's stronger than you.
Can I ask you an irrelevant question?
Just wait till he's in here. He's the lead investigator.
It doesn't have to do with the investigation.
Yeah,
when that neighbor came up and was talking to you, you got up next to him. Did you get up next to him because you thought he was like... Did you position yourself strategically like that?
No, I was just trying to hear what he's saying.
Oh, all right.
He seemed nervous. I didn't think he was like gonna beat you up enough. Is that what you mean?
I thought you were... Because the four of you kind of got in between.
That's natural. Do it so many times that way.
Well, you kept your arm away from the thing.
Yeah, that's normal. You get used to doing that. Well, I'm going to storage prison. Finished. Hopefully. When you try to come in.
This investigator surrounded the Sanford Police Department. Today's date is Wednesday, February the 29th, 2012. We located the Sanford Police Department, 815 West 13th Street, City of Sanford, Seminole County, Florida. The time is now 17:19 hours. That's 5:19 p.m. Here to discuss case number 2012-501136, the shooting death of a Trayvon Benjamin Martin, which occurred on February 26th. It was a Sunday at approximately 7:30 p.m.
Let me make sure the record's clear. That prior 20 seconds or so, actually, are you outside the interview room and are you recording on your recorder before you walk in?
Yes, sir, I am.
And when you come into the interview room, does that recorder stay on in addition to the videotape that's going on?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
What happened this evening is that you essentially saw somebody who you in good faith that was doing something wrong. Yes. And you ever heard of law? Yes. Okay, that's what happened. This person was not doing anything bad. You want to know a person that bad? Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Benjamin Martin. He was born in 1995, February the 5th. He was 17 years old. I deal with folks that care. In his possession, we found a can of iced tea and a bag of Skittles and about $40 in cash. Do you have any prior training in law enforcement at all? I mean, any kind of just the legal side of it? Constitutional law. Okay, so you went through okay. But as far as identifying people and stuff like that, as far as what you look forward to make them really suspicious?
Just when we organized an annual neighborhood watch event, they told us, like with the, I think the PowerPoint presentation and the flyers.
I wasn't privy to that, but if you guys continue neighborhood watch, typically speaking, at nighttime, the garb is black on black on black with a black hoodie. Now this guy, dark gray hoodie, so it was dark, but his pants were beige. Not quite your, suspect type, but I listened to the phone call you made to the numbers. Okay. Is what time did you at the time?
2 or 3 weeks prior to that, I'd seen somebody looking in the window of the house that he was in front of.
Was he wearing what?
Black. And the guy that lives there, I know he's actively watching. He's Caucasian. The guy, the suspicious looking guy, went up to the house. I was walking my dog around the neighborhood
pretending like he lived there. And so I walked past him and I called an emergency. And I got under a street light and they asked me if I could see where he went or if he went inside the house. I said no. And they said, can you get to where you can see? I really don't want to move from this area. And they needed the address, and I don't know why the adrenaline was rushing and 1,000 things went through my mind. I gave them what I thought was my address, further down in the 1900 building instead of the 1400. And when I walked to see the address, I saw the end of the house, and he was at the side of the house looking in the window. He either threw or spit he looked at me, threw his cigarette out, and then ran around back. So I told non-emergency, I think it was still non-emergency at that time, that, I don't know where you guys are coming from, but he's around back. And I don't know where he went. And I stayed in front of the house where the streetlight was. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and then it hit me. The police came and drove past me. And then is when it hit me that I gave them what I thought was my address instead of that address. So I called back and I said, the correct address. The police officer came back. I didn't even see because the house was completely dark. The window was open. So, and the front door wasn't, the police later told me the front door was unlocked. All the windows were open in the house. And the front door was unlocked, the garage was open. So they went in, they cleared the house. Oh, they asked me for the owner's name and phone number. And then they asked me for permission. They went inside the house, blah, 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 blah. Then the next week, not at that building, but at the next building on the end unit, the guy I saw broke in, apparently stole a laptop, from what I understand, ran off, but one of the maintenance guys saw him and was able to give the police the direction of where he was going, and he was actually arrested. So when I saw him in the same area in front of the guy's house that I know tends to keep it unsecured, and he was looking into the house, I just thought something doesn't fit right here.
But this is the one prior to this one, right?
No, I'm sorry. That's why I felt this was suspicious.
Okay. What did you see Trayvon doing that question as being suspicious?
He was looking at the house intently, and then...
What, the same house?
The same house that I had called about before.
Did he stop?
He stopped.
In front of the house?
He stopped in front of the house, and then I drove... There was a car, backing up, so I slowed down, and then I drove around him, and he kept looking at me, and then when I passed, it was raining, and I said, you know what, he's not walking briskly to get out of the rain. He wasn't, he didn't look like a marathon runner that is active and the trains in the rain. He was just walking slowly and in the grass, not on the sidewalk, and I just said, something's off.
Over this. Correct? Okay. The profiling aspect of the whole thing. Had this person been right, would you feel the same way?
Yes.
So we're in the process of going through his phone. We got a little bit of the battery died. We're still working on that. There's a possibility that whatever happened was seen in the hand this call on videotape. And this gives me a final interview. I'm not fucking anymore after this. We're good. You know what I'm saying? That right there. That's his cell phone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's the camera. There's a very strong possibility that the sponsor is either going to help you or, not help you. And that's why I got to clarify a few things about what happened out there. How tall are you, Seaway?
5'8", 194.
Okay. Trayvon's a 6 foot, about 150 pounds. That's the gun shot you put in him. We're right through the dark. Okay. Skinny kid. Obviously, like I said, a lot of questions are being brought up. Like I said, if there's anything that you haven't said that might be in that phone.
I prayed to God that someone would videotape it, or that the neighborhood had put up a video camera that I didn't know about or something.
I guarantee, but like I said, it's from a possibility. I'm hoping myself. Another thing too, as far as 25 and 30 punches, I've consulted a lot of people, not quite consistent with your injuries. You do have injuries, however. How did you manage to bang your head? Okay, correct me if I misunderstood what you said here as far as slamming the head into the concrete. Into the cement thing. So how did you do that?
I was on my back after he first punched me. I don't know if I immediately fell down, or he threw me down, or I was stumbling. I ended up on my back, and he was on top of me, mounted, and he kept punching me. And then when I started yelling for help, that's when he grabbed my head and started just slamming.
Grabbed your head? By your ears? By, how to say?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Every time he punched my nose, it just...
How many times? Okay. How many times you got punched in the nose? A couple of times?
I don't remember.
Okay, you never got a chance to hit him. You have no defense wounds here. Any bruising on your body, though?
No.
No broken ribs, no fractured ribs, none of that?
No.
Pain? No?
My doctor said I sprained my SI. It feels like a big bruise, but it's deep in there. So.
Is that what it like this happened?
Pardon?
Can you see his face like this when that happened?
No, sir.
Okay. He's young, tall, and skinny. 17. That's something else. It's not sure this is going to have to someday meet his family. That's just how these things work eventually. And they have a lot of questions, obviously. And I want to prepare you for that. Because like I said, I'm basically out of it after this. This is, you're glad it's on video. That's a good thing. And like I said, I don't mean to torture you with this, but you got to see this before you see it anywhere else. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And the only thing that we don't have is the authority to go ahead and stop legally. You follow? It would work in the color of an absolutely private citizen. I don't know if this is going to help at this point, but had you told your son that you were there when it was, you were just wondering what the hell he was doing when you went to your car, you probably wouldn't be here right now. Did that ever register to you at all? I mean, I got to try to get into your head somehow, and like I said, I answer to his family right now. Why did it occur to you to go ahead and tell him? I mean, a lot of what we do out here in law enforcement is basically a lot of talking and a lot of casual encounters, consensual encounters with them. Yeah, we might be trying to take something wrong, but it's just to get a feel for the person. Did it ever occur to you to go ahead and actually ask this person what he was doing out there?
No, sir.
Was it fear, precaution, safety, all the above, or
I didn't want to confront him, and this wasn't my job.
Okay. So, but not your job's not to really do anything wrong when it comes like that. It wasn't your job to monitor a neighbor, but for future reference, I mean, you usually dismiss a lot of this kind of insanity. I mean, had that been done, and that's, and from our vantage point, you've had two opportunities to identify yourself as somebody who was actually not meant to do harm. Problem is that what if in his mind's eye, which I can't get into because he's passed, that he perceives you as a threat. Okay? He perceives you as a threat. He has every right to go and defend himself, especially when you reach into your pocket to grab your cell phone. Okay? What I'm gravitating to here is to say that, like I said, could that have been a possibility for him being so enraged at you? What do you think his mindset was? What made him snap? Can you fill in that blank?
The other thing was when he walked up to my car, he reached in his waistband and held his hand there.
He was probably holding his iced tea.
I don't know.
That's fine, but did he say anything?
It was raining, so I had my windows up and I was on the phone. I didn't.
How close to your car did you get?
Maybe a car length.
What do you think set him off?
I don't know.
I'm still not understanding. When he walked up to your car, why didn't you say anything to him?
I I guess, fear. I didn't want to confront him. The same reason I didn't.
You were afraid of him?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you say you ran?
Yes.
Then you get out of your car and run after him?
I didn't run after him, no. I walked to find a street name or a street sign, and he had already cut out between the houses. So I knew that if I walked straight through that little sidewalk, I knew that was my street, but I knew that I could Virginia Circle. But when I was walking around, my truck lights stay on, and he wasn't there.
So was that portion of that T that you could see straight through lit up by your truck light?
It was lit up partially because it only stays on for a few, I don't know how long, but it stays on for a while.
When you got out, you shut the car off and took your keys with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and at that point you didn't see him. You didn't see him on the phone call, he's running, and you got in your car, but yet you decided to go ahead to take yourself. How many streets were in that subdivision?
I think 3.
Okay. And you're part of the homeowners association. Are you head of the neighborhood watch?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Once again, something else I got to try to explain away. How do you not know that 3 streets in your neighborhood lived for 3 years? Well, yes, it's not, you have really no idea. How do I explain that one away that you're saying that you didn't know which street was one that of the 3 streets that were committed to the head of the homeowners, the head of the works? You know what I'm saying? How do I do that? I mean,
to be honest with you, I have a bad memory anyway. That's why I gave you.
So that might explain why I didn't know the street that you were at.
And I just have a terrible memory. And when they asked me the address, I don't know why I always think my address is 1960 and it's 1950. I don't know why.
That's almost confusing the whole place. I had a hard time orienting myself also. I mean, yeah, I got it. But okay.
The one thing I can tell you is that the streets, those middle streets, I can't even remember the names now, but I know that they changed names. Once it branches left, it's a different one. Once it branches right, it's a different name. So,
well, I guess that's going to be one of the issues that I have to clarify, and that's why we're here today. Your holster. What kind of holster do you have?
This is just one I bought at a gun show, like a nylon inner waistband.
Like those little mics with
yes, sir.
With the nylon, the retainer.
It did not have a retainer.
So it's an unsecure holster, basically. Okay. No locking mechanism, no safety feature, nothing. It was inside your pants?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 9 over inside your pants. He was mounted on your, he was mounted on your upper chest, or, I mean, at what point were you able to free your waist side to go ahead and pull out your weapon?
When he was mounted on me, but he had pressure on my nose and my mouth suffocating me. And when he let go of my mouth and started reaching down my side and said, "You're going to die tonight," I didn't need my hand anymore because he let go of my mouth. I don't remember if I was still screaming or not. That's when I grabbed his hand and I grabbed my firearm and fired. So once he let go, that I realized I didn't need my hand and he was going to kill me.
How long did it suffocate you for?
Felt like
sitting forever, I'm sure.
Felt like hours, but I don't know.
Okay. Is it a full-size line or a small 9?
Compact.
Okay. And you were able to overpower him as far as holding his wrist. You gained wrist control. You gained wrist control on him, basically, and you were able to basically liberate both hands.
Yes.
Okay. And you raised it up. Do you remember hitting him with the pistol?
No, sir.
Distance-wise?
I just remember not wanting to hit my own hand that was holding his, so I went past my hand and I fired in his direction.
You okay? This is what everything?
Yeah.
Some cold?
No, thanks. This is fine. I did remember that. You said that the operator told me to stay in my car. They didn't tell me to stay in my car. They said, "Are you following him?" And I was walking where he had walked, and I said, "Yes." And they
Thought I could hear the door.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of unclear on that. Okay, I wasn't sure if there was ever you had got in your car. But once again, this also lends to the question on once the fear for not lowering your window because he's right in front of you, two, outside exposing yourself to the possibility of being attacked by the person.
So he comes up to your car, you're telling them, right, that he's reaching his waist down. So what do you think the possibility that he has?
Well, the guy 2 weeks prior did the same thing when he saw me. He put his hand in his jacket and watched me walk by, and then he lit up a cigarette. So I thought he was just trying to look tough or intimidate.
You didn't think he had a weapon?
No, not at the time.
You thought he was just trying to bluff you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did that hear you? The bluff?
No.
Do you ever scream before?
No, sir.
You worked at a party one time,
Oh, yes.
right? Okay. Was that painful or you just...
It wasn't professional or anything. It was
okay. There's a thing called challenging somebody. Now, you didn't challenge this person while he was out next to your car, so you got it. You sound kind of frustrated on the phone conversation. Because everybody's going to hear these things, you know. And you went out there just like you said, and you hung up 911, and right after that, you turned around and he was.
No, sir.
Okay.
I walked past where he went through. I go to retrieve his circle.
This way that he headed back to his house where you're staying.
I have no idea what
That's where he was going. I'm just letting you know that.
But when I walked and I saw he wasn't there anymore, they asked me for my address, and I gave them my address. And I said, I don't really like giving out my address because they may know where I go or where I live.
So he would have been in earshot of you thought, but you couldn't see him.
I could not see him at all.
But how close could he? Okay.
I didn't like anyone. That's fine. And they said, around that time is when they said, we don't need you to follow him. So I continued walking straight to my street. And when I came back, I was coming back and I passed the sidewalk that he went to. Mm-hmm. I didn't see where he came from, but he was not there. And I told non-emergency, he's not here. And they said, you still want us to send the car? And I said, yes.
So, sir, was that there? Yes, was it right? Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking, you just had a discussion about meeting at the mailbox, and then you said, never mind, I told them to call my phone, and I'll tell them where I'm at.
Oh, I thought I told them because I first pulled up at the clubhouse, and I gave them that address, if I remember searching, and then I told them my location according to the clubhouse. I said, if you go straight through the clubhouse and then the left, you'll see my truck there, and I think I gave them a description of my truck. Either the color, the make, and model. And when they said, where do you want them to meet you? I said, just have them meet me back at my truck. And that's when I was walking towards my truck.
Okay, so when you approached your brother, what the fuck's your problem? Correct?
Something to that effect.
Did you use the word homie?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Did you at that time ever say to him, I'm neighborhood watch?
No.
Did it not occur to you?
I always said, I don't have a problem, and I started backing away from him.
But you kind of did have a problem, that's why you were following him, right? You had a concern with him.
I was scared.
You were scared to tell them that you had a concern? That you were neighborhood watch? You were afraid to tell him that?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but these are the questions you're going to ask me, so I understand an answer. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to say, look, I'm neighborhood watch, I don't recognize you. Are you staying here?
Like I said, he came up out of nowhere. I didn't even see him. I was walking back to my car thinking I was going to meet a police officer there. So when he popped up, he just caught me off guard. I didn't think that I'd tell him.
But can you see how that would maybe frighten him? You've been following him now for a whole bar?
What do you mean, on foot?
Yeah, you're watching him. Okay. He makes it clear to you, he sees you, he walks up to your car, correct?
Yes.
He was making it clear to you, I recognize you're following me.
I didn't know if he was doing that or he was doubling back what he was doing.
Well, the reason why you said why you have a problem was because, for no other reason, because he let you follow him. In other words, you were just walking around family. He didn't walk up to you and say, "I got a fucking problem." He didn't try to rob you. He didn't try to, he's asking what the fuck's your problem. Now, can it possible you said, "I don't have a fucking problem"?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, you asked for reason to go to law enforcement because you haven't agreed for justice?
No, I wanted to before then.
Why'd you get, did you have the aspiration of doing that?
Being a police officer?
Yes, sir.
Did you think he was scared? Do you think he thought you were trying to hurt him? I mean, because even in the tape you say he's running. First of all, he could see you're following him. That would be the reason he would come to your car and let you know, I see you.
Oh, in my car, right?
And then, instead of having a conversation with him, you put up your window.
Yes.
So it might seem creepy to him. So someone's following him, and when he tries to talk to him to maybe see what's going on, he creeps. And then when he runs, you follow him. You know, and maybe you're fighting him, I don't know.
I wish I knew.
Oh, I know. When people are following you or trying to talk to you and trying to ask you what you're doing, and who are they? Why do they have a right to ask me anything? Who are they? You know what I mean? They're trying to keep people from coming in your neighborhood, bothering people. Yet you could give the appearance that you're asking people for information and you haven't even told them who you are.
We're not supposed to.
I think that's what you said you had done that, right? You never told him who you were.
No. I didn't have the opportunity.
Well, you could have told him. Right? When he came to your car, instead of putting up your window, you could have said on neighborhood watch.
He wasn't, next to my window or anything.
No, I thought you told me circled your whole car.
He did, but I don't know if he circled the entire car, but he came around to the side. But he wasn't, within earshot, and I didn't want to confront him. I was happy he was staying in the areas where the police could question him. In the past, when I got involved in this back in August, it was because my wife saw people fleeing the place they had robbed. And ever since then, whenever we see someone suspicious, we call. But feeling staying in the neighborhood inside and out, you guys come, you're quick. Sometimes you show up with 3 cars, but there's no one. I have a wife at home. I'm not chasing anyone. I think even when 2-3 weeks ago, when he went around the back of the house, they asked me, "Can you see him behind the house?" And I said, "No, I'm not going back there either." I waited on the street, and actually when the cop passed me, I tried flagging him down, but I guess he was...
That's on a previous call.
Yes, ma'am. 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, for the one you were talking about earlier with the kids looking in the windows?
Yes, ma'am. And I tried flying the cop down, thinking that...
I didn't know the guy that went to the next one was the same guy that you had seen.
I recognized his face.
Oh, so you saw his face pretty good?
Yes, ma'am. I was walking, I walked right past him.
You didn't think this kid was the same kid, did you?
No, that kid was arrested.
Okay. But they get out. I mean, you didn't think that this was possibly the same kid coming back.
Mm-hmm.
At the time of the encounter with him, was there anything in your hand?
I think my flashlight.
Okay, your flashlight. Was it working or was it not working? It was dead. It was dead. Okay. It was not clicking on. It was your right hand or left hand?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you looked away from him? Is that what happened? When you got punched, or did you see the punch coming?
No, I walked past where he went through. And I started walking back to my car. And that's when he yelled out and I turned around.
How far was you away from that? Was he up on you already, or?
Can't tell. I don't recall. As soon as he did that, I started backing up.
That's when I wanted to call 911 instead of non-emergency.
Do you realize how the way these cases can go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, how can they go?
Either justifiable homicide or murder.
Okay. And that's why, like I'm saying, I mean, I'm going to try something with you that I've done before. It's called assisted memory recall. It's not hypnosis. It's just something that, I mean, just have you try it. Right, close your eyes, man. Okay, once you put yourself back in the scene, Sunday night, at 7 o'clock, you're looking at this kid, you're getting out of your car, talking to the dispatcher, getting up to the dispatcher. Okay, give yourself a couple seconds to go ahead and think about what happened after that. Now you're going to try to act like what happened, okay? I'm going to be the kids. What the fuck is your problem? You say what you said.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, at that point, nothing else was said.
No, sir. No, sir.
What did you say the first time he hit you?
I don't think I said a thing.
Telephone conversation prior. Okay, we're good. Yes. Nothing at all.
No, sir.
Okay. That never works. Just, you know, you gotta try it though. It's not happening.
Tell us if you could, do you move now somewhere else? Are you moving now outside of the interview room?
Yes, sir. We're heading to my desk.
Okay. All right, we can turn the lights back on because I believe the rest is all audio. And what was the purpose of heading towards your desk now, sir?
So I could play the 911 calls for him.
And are you present and the defendant, Mrs. Zimmerman, and then Singleton and a few other investigators or officers are around, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So once you come to my desk. Yes, George. George, this is Randy. That's Rebecca. Let me grab a chair for George. Let me get a chair. What happened? Grab a chair. W man made, WWF, okay. Here we go. And I'll do this part. Okay. This is your 911 call.
Police Department, sorry, it's going to report to Sean. Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy inside.
Okay, real suspicious guy. Okay, one more time. Why suspicious?
It was raining. He was looking into the houses, looking behind, looking at me. He wasn't walking quickly to get out of the rain. It didn't look like he was like trying to head home. He didn't look like a hardcore athlete that wanted to like train in the rain or anything. He just looked out of place.
Okay.
Retreating circle. The best address I can give you is 111 Retreating Circle. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something.
On drugs, why?
Oh, because he just kept looking around, looking behind him, just kept shifting where he was looking.
It's raining, and he's just walking around looking about. Okay, this guy, do you want to talk to us a minute? And he looks black. Did you see what he was wearing? Yeah, a dark hoodie, like a gray hoodie, and either jeans or sweatpants and white tennis shoes.
Can you see the color of his pants? Okay.
He's seen around, and he's just staring. Oh, he's just walking around the area at all the houses. Okay. And now he's just staring at me. Okay, so this is 111.
Okay, when you explained it to me, you said you had pulled over initially at the clubhouse, correct? Okay, but it seemed so fast, and then I thought you told me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
I thought you said they asked you, can you still see him? And you told them you couldn't, and you asked, and they said, well, get to where you could see where he's at. And you told me it's at that point you moved.
Yes.
Now you're saying he's coming up to your car. Does that mean you've already, at this point in the tape, you're already on Twin Tree Street? You didn't know the name of it at the time?
Oh, no, I called when I was at the clubhouse.
Okay. But he's walking up to your car now, right?
Yes,
on the tape? Because you're saying he's walking up.
Yes,
you're talking about when you've already left the clubhouse and now you're around the corner.
No, ma'am.
But you're still at the clubhouse when he does this? Okay.
Which radio or 111? That's the clubhouse. That's the clubhouse. Do you know what he's near the clubhouse right now? Yeah, now he's coming towards me. Okay. He's got his hand in his waistband.
Where are you at now? Are you still at the clubhouse?
I think I'm still at the clubhouse.
He's a black male. Okay. How old would you say he was? With a button on his shirt. Late teens. Late teens, okay. Mm-hmm.
Have you moved yet? You're still in front of the clubhouse?
I think so.
On Retreat to the Circle?
Yes, ma'am. I don't remember even saying he had a black mouth.
Wrong with him.
Something's wrong with him.
Yeah, something's wrong with him.
What's that statement first name?
Yeah, he's trying to check me out. He's got something in his hands. I don't know what he's dealing.
Okay, where are you at now? You're still in front of the clubhouse?
I don't remember.
Okay, just let me know if he does anything, okay? Yeah, we got him on the line. Just let me know if this guy does anything else. Okay. These assholes always get away.
That statement. These assholes. What's behind that?
People that victimize the neighborhood.
Didn't you just tell us from there that a week earlier they made an arrest?
Yes.
They don't always get away.
No.
Good point.
When you come to the club, you come straight in and make a left.
What's happening now? Are you guys walking now? Is he walking?
I was parked where I could see him.
So
you're definitely not in front of the clubhouse anymore at this point.
So you're ahead of him?
No, I was behind him.
Okay. So you walked to your car, then walked when it's passed, and you were behind him.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When I was at the clubhouse, he walked.
Are you driving slowly or something?
No, I pulled over and stopped before I called.
Actually, you go past the clubhouse. It says on the left-hand side from the clubhouse. And you go in straight through the entrance, and then you make a left. You go straight in, don't turn and make a left. He's running.
Okay. Full sprint, full long flight, jogging, trotting. Describe the run.
Because I was on the phone. It happened so quickly.
I understand that, George, but like I said, it's if it was a bicycle theft, I could say okay, but it's kind of important. I mean, was he running as to evade you, get away from you? Maybe he got tired of getting wet in the rain. What kind of run was it? I mean, it sounds like he's running as to get away from you.
I don't know why.
But what kind of run was it? Can't say? Okay.
He's running. Which way is he running?
Okay, is that you getting out of the car?
Yes.
Okay.
So as soon as he runs, you're getting out of the car and following.
When he says which way are you running?
Down towards the entrance of the neighborhood. Okay, which entrance is that?
At that point, you're out of the car? Okay, so you basically jumped out of the car to see where he was going.
Yes.
Okay, that's not fear. All right?
Yes.
That's
Very good. The back entrance. Are you following him?
What was that you whispered?
Yeah, I'm true.
Fucking what?
Punk.
He wasn't a fucking punk.
don't need. Alright, so where's your name?
At the point where you said, are you following what you said, really, did you do that? What went through your mind?
He's right.
So you should have stopped and went back to your vehicle.
I still wanted to give him an address.
Yeah, okay, we don't need you to do that. Alright, sir, what is your name? George. He ran. Alright.
He said he ran again. Okay. This is because you don't see him?
Correct.
So at this point he has to be hiding from you.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't see him.
well, the laws of physics says that he's hiding from you at this point. He could not have made it home. He came back to attack you at that time. So, what's your account is that you don't see him at this point. You're at the T now, right? Here's the pavement. Correct? You're looking down that way, that passage. Where you at?
Once he told me not to follow him, and I wasn't following him. I was just going in the same direction he was.
That's following.
Well, I thought, I mean,
okay. So you basically wrote it off. I mean,
right. I was on the other side. I was on Retreat View Circle at that time.
Okay.
The other day, and again, these are the questions that we're going to have to be able to explain to people. The other day you told me you got out of the car because dispatch was asking your location and you wanted to orient yourself. You did not tell me that you said, oh shit, he's running, and then got out of the car and went in that same direction at the same time. See what the problem is?
Yes.
And I asked you, did you look for him? And you told me no. You told me the reason that you got out of your car was to get an address.
Yes.
But you decide to get the address a fraction of a second after you say, oh shit, he's running. And then it sounds like you're running too.
Because it was fast walking.
No, it was just windy.
That was.
Hey, George, what's your last name? Zimmerman. Hey, George, what's the phone number you're calling from? 407-435.
Where are you at now?
240.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
There's your... Alright, George, would you have them on the way? Do you want to meet with the officer when they get out there? Yeah. Alright, where are you going to meet with them at? If they come in through the gate, tell them to go straight past the clubhouse.
What are you doing right now?
And straight past the clubhouse.
Okay. If I time this portion, this is important, okay? I almost got to reconstruct this.
If they
when you start walking back to your car.
Gate, for the house entrance. Are you following them?
You're going towards the retreat view, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, sir, what is your name? George. Okay,
where you at now?
Alright, George, what's your last name?
Okay. Is that 241? Okay.
Zimmerman. Hey, George, what's the phone number you're calling from?
Okay, welcome back to your car.
407-435-2400. Alright, George, would you have them on the way? Do you want to meet with the officer when they get out there? Yeah. Alright, where are you going to meet with them at? If they come in through the gate, tell them to go straight past the clubhouse and straight past the clubhouse and make a left. And then they go past the mailboxes. Look at my truck. Okay, what address are you parked in front of? I don't know. It's a cut through, so I don't know the address. Okay, do you live in the area? Yeah. What's your apartment number? It's a home. It's 1950. Oh crap! I don't want to give it out loud. I don't know where this shit is. Okay, do you want to just be with them right near the mailboxes, then? Yeah, that's fine. to meet you with you out there. Actually, could you have him call me and I'll tell him where I'm at? Okay, yeah, that's no problem. You need my number? You got it? Yeah, I got it. 474-352-400. Yeah, you got it. Okay, no problem. I'll let them know to call you when they're in the area. Thanks. You're welcome.
It's 84 seconds. From the point where you were walking back to your car from Retreat View to Twin Tree, basically. That's a minute and 20 seconds. You stopped at the T.
No, I walked through. I stopped on Retreat View Circle.
That's where you were standing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you didn't get back into your car?
No, sir.
Why not? You're in the rain, you're getting wet, you're on the phone.
Because I was waiting. I had light there where I was at, and I was trying to get my flashlight. I didn't want to walk back through without light.
Okay, a minute and 20 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're in the rain getting wet. You've ripped this guy off basically. You're going to meet the police. Okay. You see where the obstacle is here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want you to think about that. So I am speaking for you, for everybody. I'm trying to protect you the best I can here.
Yes, sir.
A minute and 20 seconds. Doesn't sound like you were saying, well, it doesn't sound like you quite recall exactly what happened at that point, okay? If there was stuff here that happened or something else. Listen, all right? Okay.
My concern is also this. He's running, and I'm getting out of my car in an instant to make sure I don't lose sight of this guy. That's what it sounds like. Are you following him? Because that's what it sounds like you're doing. That's why he asked you the question. It sounded to the dispatcher likely that you were running, and that's why he asked you that question. Are you following him? And your answer is yes. Okay? But then you get to the other side, and you're concerned about walking past this guy when you've already been chasing him, essentially. And he's telling you to go back to your car, and now you want to pretend, or not pretend, you want us to believe that you're concerned about having a flashlight to move back where you just ran?
You're looking
trying to
for
catch
him.
up to him. See what I'm saying?
Okay, it sounds like you're looking for him.
You brought a flashlight with you.
Yes, sir.
You wanted to be able to see him.
You want to catch him? You want to catch the bad guy?
It doesn't.
Fuck them punks, you can't get away. Listen, we're outside that interrogation room, okay? We are in a whole different area right here, okay? This is where, this is why I took you out of there, so you could hear this. So I can recall your memory and let you see if you say you walk back to your car and you stood outside your car from it, they're not going to believe anything I have to say. And that's what I'm saying. Is there anything that you need to clarify right now? Did you pursue this kid? Did you want to catch him?
No.
Okay, it's not you. It's not what you're about.
Why did you tell us? Never mind, just have them call me when they get here and I'll tell them where I'm at.
I was frustrated that I couldn't think of this street name.
But you were going to be back in your car from that distance in less than 15 or 20 seconds. So why would they need to call you?
I felt like I didn't give them an adequate description of where I was from the clubhouse.
Just know what the impression would be is that you're going to continue to look, and when they get here, you should tell them where you're at that point. See what I'm saying? Well, no, never mind. Just tell them to call me when they get here, and I'll tell them where I'm at. Meaning I might not be at my car, where I just told them I would be.
Now, we're here working for you here, okay? That's what you got to open your mind, okay? And if there's anything that needs to be changed, this is it. We can't do this anymore, Let's do this one.
911, you need police medical.
You hear that voice in the background?
Both, I'm not sure. There's just someone screaming. 911, you need police medical. Maybe both, I'm not sure. There's just someone screaming outside. Hey, what's the address that they're near? 1211 Twin Tree Lane. Twin Tree Lane? Is this an Fort Lake Town phone in Sanford? Yeah. Okay. And is it a male or female? It's a male. And you don't know why? I don't know why I'm yelling out, but I don't know. When someone says, stop. Does he look hurt? I can't see him. I don't want to go out there. I don't know what's going on. So they're sending. So you think he's yelling help? Yes. What is it?
Okay, right there.
He smothered you. Correct. At what point did he smother you? Was it right before you shot him?
Yes.
Immediately behind the shot? I need to give an approximate time we start smothering you.
There's just someone screaming outside. Hey, what's the address that they're near? 1211.
That's who he owes for help.
Twin Trees Lane. Is this in Twin Lake Town, in Sanford? Yeah. Okay. And is it a male or female?
Help me.
It sounds like a male. And you don't know why? I don't know why. I think they're yelling out, but I don't know. When someone gets shot. Does he look hurt to you? I can't see him. I don't want to go out there. I don't know what's going on. So there's some there. So you think he's yelling help? Yes. All right, what is it?
Where you shot?
There's gunshot.
Can you recall? At what point the suffocation happened? Prior to you shooting him, he was on you, correct? Okay. And you were able to reach into your holster? He shot him at point blank range. He was on top of you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And although that young, nobody came out to help you. And I can't pinpoint where you were smothered. That's the problem I'm having. And nobody's saying they saw him smothering you. People were saying they saw you on top of you, but they didn't see about the smothering part. So.
When you're listening to the screaming, it doesn't sound like there's a hesitation in the screaming. It sounds like it's continuous. Somebody's doing those. It's going to stop. But we don't hear it stop.
We don't hear him at all either. Is he being quiet? Is he whispering to you or something? Is he calm?
He's like angry.
I don't hear him though.
Shouting it, or was this?
No, he's on top of me. He's telling him, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up.
And then when he saw you had a gun at that point, you think he might have saw you had a gun when you guys were standing before he punched you? No way, no how? Was it totally concealed under that jacket? You could have got a glimpse of it accidentally? And once again, getting back to the beginning, what was the provocation from punching you other than the fact you were following him that you could think of? Why was he so mad at you?
I've gone through it a million times.
Investigator Sereno, at about 52 minutes, when you're playing the recording, you specifically say, "Are you hearing yourself?" And Mr. Zimmerman says, "That doesn't even sound like me." Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Doing parts of the interview, you showed him some photographs. You recall that?
Yes, I did, sir.
You showed him a photograph of a cell phone, the victim's cell phone that was on the ground.
I did.
And
Yes.
you told him that this might have been videotaped. Were you bluffing him? Were you lying to him to get him to say something?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. You also showed him photographs of the victim. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right, may I have a moment?
Yes, you may.
I don't know if you can take a recess or you're all right.
Need a recess? Yes. Okay, court will be in recess for 15 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, put your notepads face down on the chair. Follow Deputy Jarvis back into the jury room.